Violent crime around the nation is on the upward. Before I share this presentation with you related to street violence, let me give you the background related to what we'll be talking about in this presentation. If you remember a while back, there was a movie called Menace to Society. Specifically, there was a conversation that occurred in that movie in which an individual shared with other individuals the reality of the streets and the understanding of the predator and the prey, and how young Black men were the prey. What we're doing in our initiative is to turn the preyed upon to the survival. So listen to the end of this video as we begin to paint a picture of some solutions to the issues of violent crime in our communities. What is the good news is that you have people from around the country that are taken to the streets and putting together their strategies to save their communities. So that being said, let me share with you this video here and ask that you stay to the end of this video to look at who is the prey. In Tampa and across the nation is going on. Young people are killing each other. In fact, older people are killing each other. On December the 26th, at 7 p.m., the West Tampa CDC, in conjunction with the National Institute for Strategic and Tactical Planning and the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development, will be holding a town meeting. What we did was to look at the most violent cities in the nation. What you are looking at now is a list of the 20 most violent cities in the United States. We use this as the background to create lessons learned from each of these cities and put together a unique anti-violent program for West Tampa that can be used throughout Tampa. What we do know from the evidence is that programs like Safe and Sound, YMCA, your Boys and Girls Club, the Salvation Army, and programs similar to that are not working with the most violence of the violence that's out there. These programs focus on using a middle class approach instead of a on the street approach. Tonight, we want to share with you what's being learned out of Baltimore. during that upcoming meeting and throughout up into that meeting, we're going to be highlighting different parts of the countries with the most violent crime and what they're doing in order to reduce that crime. So let's go to Baltimore first and then see what are they doing to reduce violence in the neighborhood. Baltimore has the third highest amount of violent crime in the nation based on reports from the FBI. And what you're looking at now is reports from the FBI. So, and I need to be transparent in that I'm from Baltimore. That's where I was born at. So without that being said, let's look at what's working in Baltimore. And then on the other side, let's talk about that meeting that's coming up that will focus on lessons in the most violent of neighborhoods from around the nation. You're going to be surprised at what the nation is doing in some of the most violent communities in the nation. If you're looking at what can you do for your community, you need to look at the worst of the worst and use those strategies in your community before your community gets just like these earnings. I remember when I first came to Tampa in 2001, and I was amazed by the quietness, and that where I was coming from, gunshots was like an everyday occurrence. Flashlights from the police helicopter shining was an everyday occurrence, as well as those other things associated with high crime neighborhoods. Flashback, moving forward now, I'm seeing a transformation in Tampa, and it's concerning about the types and level of violence that's here. In 2001, it was not like this. And I've just sat back and gradually seen the numbers goes up. Even with that being said, I think Tampa does offer opportunities and approaches, if applied correctly, that can show how you can turn those numbers around and curate best practices for the rest of the nation to emulate.
In progress.
So this is coming out of Baltimore. It's a news piece they did on gun violence in Baltimore, and you're going to be surprised at the way Baltimore has been able to reduce the level of gun violence. And even more importantly, who were the partners that took part in that particular strategy. That being said, let's hear about Baltimore.
City police and community groups have been working together in a unique partnership to try and combat gun violence. Today, WJZ got an update on this campaign, and the numbers look encouraging. It all started with a public service announcement filmed in a fictional classroom.
When are you coming back?
In charge right now, Tasha.
This scene could be played out in any classroom at any time. Gun violence tearing a hole in a family and a young life.
I want to talk to you about T.
This is an example of a young person being arrested on a murder charge.
This campaign brings together federal, state, and local partners working to prevent, intervene, support, and raise awareness about gun violence. And they're seeing success. Homicides in Baltimore City down 20 to 25%, and non-fatal shootings approximately 10%.
Keep in mind, Baltimore is one of the third highest city in terms of violence. And if they are beginning to turn those numbers around, looking at these numbers here, then there is promise. But like any strategy, it doesn't occur overnight. It occurs over a period of time. But these numbers are promising.
The key, according to Attorney General Barron, is finding the root causes of violence.
If we're just about arrests and prosecution, we're going to be spinning our wheels. We have to recognize that. We have to. So
I cannot overemphasize what this gentleman is saying related to thinking we can arrest our way out of this. Unless we begin to have a new school, next generation approach to dealing specifically with street violence. And we're talking about those individuals who are what we call hardcore on those corners. If we're not able to reach them and begin to what we call attract them, excite them, educate them, reprogram them, and then transform them. It's focused on building relationship, and shared experience. But let this gentleman continue to talk about the necessity that we cannot lock our way out of this.
how can we focus on that same population and intervene before something happens to them or before, God forbid, they do something to someone else?
For Police Chief Monique Brown, it's about identifying the...
What we do is to focus our program on those who are at risk. We focus on those individuals that are normally not actually assisted. And these people tend to be those that are hanging on the corners in the streets. What this program does is to begin to build a relationship. What's different about our program, unlike most programs, is that we focus not only on the individual and the family, but we also focus on, more importantly, the community. Most programs are programmatic and they focus on the individual and the family. Yet the community to which these individuals and families are coming from remain the same. Our strategy is a holistic, comprehensive approach to change the narrative. You'll hear more about that. But let's continue on, because I do want to show how there are approaches that's being used around the country to reduce the level of violence that's going on.
Young people who they know are driving the violence and bringing them to the table as well.
And pretty much say, we have...
Notice how they talked about bringing the very people that are in the streets, on the corners, to the table to have a conversation with them as to henceforth, how do we change the narrative and create a win-win situation.
We have lots of services and support that we can connect you to, that can help you with life coaching, mentoring, mental health, substance abuse, treatment, any of those things that you need, we can help you.
Our program uses what's known as a hip hop approach to begin to again attract, excite, educate, and transform those individuals. Now, you recall the Pied Piper and how he was able to use his instruments and music to attract the mice. In our case, we want to attract those that are on the streets in order to transform them. We call it a reverse hip hop approach, in which one of the most important things we teach those individuals is critical thinking, entrepreneurship, and understanding of their history among the different components that we use. The hip hop approach, again, attracts, but then you have to excite, educate, and transform that young person. Those who are hanging on the corners, who are part of those who are part of that street life, to begin to provide them with the opportunity to be there, to give them the ability to transform and become the best that they can be.
Because we do know that there are different root causes and why some folks offend.
Roca is one of the most successful community-based partners in the campaign, founder Molly Baldwin.
And sadly, there's so much violence. There's a list that comes out every day of who got killed and who got shot. And what we do is we have a team that goes to find every 17 to 24-year-old young man on that list as quickly as possible.
Our approach related to mobilizing and organizing is to hire community residents that have been part of that lifestyle we call street creds, to be able to go out and recruit the very people that are on the corner. Because again, it's all about building relationship and sharing experience. Most of the young people that they'll be approaching are young people that can respect the experience that they're sharing in terms of their survival and their journey related to the streets. That's how you build those relationships, especially with those that are hardcore on the corner. They too can be approachable. They too can change if you have the correct relationship and share experience.
Chief Brown, when a young person is released from incarceration, that should be the moment the system steps in to help.
It is services and support that we should really be wrapping the young person with, and not just letting them out and without any of that.
We concur with her, and that we need to be part of our strategy again in our approach to changing the narrative and creating opportunity for those right people who are out there that are more likely to be subjected to the criminal justice system by providing them with an alternative on their way out. So we concur, and we believe that in terms of these juvenile facilities that are here in Tampa, to begin to train our people in the community to go in and begin to start the transformation towards their life while they are currently being incarcerated, to begin to work with them on the inside. So by the time they hit the streets, then the program kicks into full focus.
So the Attorney General's office, city police, community groups, they meet once a month. And in addition, they work together in the field, case by case and individual by individual.
Now, so I can't emphasize this, I think, approach offers a lot of promise. And if you think if you think it's encouraging by this that's being done in Baltimore, join us on for our next meeting as we begin to look at over 15 different cities that have programs that are evidence-based and data-driven and show that they can change the narrative, move the dial when it comes down to the senseless killing in our community. We, from outside the table, believe that using a approach like community development to build infrastructure that is move from working with the individual to the family to the community is an approach that returns the highest amount of return on investment. On the upcoming meeting, we encourage you to invite a friend and make sure that you email us at the Center for Nonprofit and Community at gmail.com. The email is right down here. And it's coming across the screen. You can type out that email. If you are someone that live in a neighborhood that has been infested with crime, and your program offers promising solutions, we want to know about you because we want to highlight the most promising programs that are out there. Unlike most folks that do what I do, we're focusing on regular grassroots neighborhood groups that's actually doing the work, but are normally given the less recommendation. We believe that the solution to the problem is within the problem itself. I encourage you, if you're feeling like a lot of people are feeling, that the senseless killing will never end and that there's nothing that you can do, I encourage you, I implore you to join us in our next meeting as we begin to deal with the topic and solution of violence